Hello, everyone, and welcome to this R5 webinar. So today we have a rich and exciting program designed to help you discover the new features in 4D20 R5. So here is what we will be exploring. We have first what's new for developers. We will uncover the latest features of the 4D language, 4D Netkit, Quick, and the enhanced user interface. Then we will move to 4D Write Pro. Qodly Studio for 4D, 4D View Pro, and then Visual Studio Code extension. So during this presentation, we will also be running some demos of some of the features to show you how they work in practice. So at the end of the webinar, please let us know in the survey if this format suits you and share any ideas you might have for improving future presentations. And one last thing before we get started, so feel free to ask questions through the presentation. We are here to guide you and help you make the most of this feature release. So let's get started, and to you, Mathieu.
Hello, everyone. So there's a lot of people today with us. That's exciting. Thank you, Intissar. Thank you for being here today. And let's start with an exciting topic for developers, sorry. After implementing the throw command and introducing the try expression keyword, 4D20R5 is shipped with the next evolution in 4D's error handling system. So I mean the try-catch code blocks. Developers can handle and localize errors with precision by encapsulating code within the try, catch, and end try keywords. If an error occurs, the try-catch block executes to manage it appropriately. You now have all the cards in your hand to handle errors as you wish, making your code safer. We see here an example on screen that all the invoice creation code is protected within a try block. If no error occurs, the transaction is validated at the end of the try block. But in case of error, the catch block is executed instead and the transaction is canceled. Let's view a nice demo to illustrate this feature. Demo time.
I'm excited. There's a lot of stuff that I want to cover today, but we won't be able to cover it all. So let's start with the first thing first, which is the try and catch. Now, going back a little bit, last webinar, we talked about throw, which is a feature that allows you to inject your own error for any type of error that's detectable by your code, right? It's custom error. Try and catch is a little bit different. It catching all of the errors that 4D generated that result in a runtime or syntax error dialog. So let's have a look at this very simple example. Okay. So these 3 lines of code, obviously, when you look at it, it's pretty given. I'm going to be opening up a document, and this document is just some bogus name. It's not going to be there. Will immediately result. I'm going to put a breakpoint here so that you can see what happened. Okay, you get a syntax error as result in an error on the screen. Obviously, the document is not there. So if I click continue, what's really happening is going to actually, let me bring down my debugger. Sorry. It's going to go to the next line, right? And then we'll continue for the rest of the execution, whether it's successfully or not. Now, in the past, what we do is we create a on error call to catch that error. And then when we go to the next line, we may be using an if statement that will check for an OK variable. So that's fine, but with the try and catch, is actually going to be so much helpful in terms of if you run into an error, you want to skip the rest of the execution, because why go on if you actually having the issue at the beginning? Let's just skip it, and then you can create some sort of a handler at the end where you're catching that error. So let's change this code a little bit. I'm going to put try at the top here. I'm going to put catch. here, right? Down here, it will be the end try. Now, this is where the code is going to hit. So for example, I'm going to run, again, I'm going to put a breakpoint here just to show you which one is going to hit when the error happened. So immediately it jumps to the catch block. It skips this whole thing. Now, this is where you are going to do some error handling yourself. So you may want to take a look at errors that occurs within that execution. So you can maybe calling the command last errors that gives you a stack of what happened. So this is quite nice feature that going to be quite useful for me. That's going to help a lot. I don't have to create some sort of a condition to catch the error, not only in the on error call, but right after the code execution. Okay, so hopefully you guys will start using this more and more.
Okay, so I hope this demo was explicit enough for all of you. Try catch is a very, very useful feature, and I recommend you to check out the blog so you can get more of it. Let's proceed with with shared classes now, another developer feature. For the 20R5 introducing shared classes, which makes it easier to work with shared objects. Shared classes simplify the process of creating and using shared objects by automatically handling the necessary setup. By adding the shared keyword to a class constructor or a function, you indicate that it will create or modify shared object. More specifically, using the shared keyword for a function avoids having to declare use or unuse blocks, as 4D will take care of them by itself. We'll see later in this presentation that it is very practical for singletons, which is another new feature from 4D 20R5. And talking about singletons, 4D 20R5 introduces an extremely useful feature, so singletons, which is a singleton is an object that is accessible throughout your entire application. They offer a multitude of functionalities, serving as hosts for interprocess values and utility classes, and even as fundamental elements for design patterns, such as factory pattern, for example. They come with two types: regular singletons, so they are unique per process, and shared singletons, so used with shared classes, which are unique to the whole application. Defining them is very simple. You add singleton to the class constructor, and then you can easily access your singletons by using the me attribute, as you can see here on screen. But a nice demo is better than any words, so we can see it live now.
Okay, let's go with a simple example because this is something that is new, and I think it's going to be very helpful for many development. We're always looking for a way to be able to access some data or define some data that can be used globally. In the past, we always resort to the interprocess variable. So we can always think of it as as a global access or interprocess variable type of concept. But this is implemented to really fulfill the multi-threaded and allow us to really utilize the system fully. So here is a very simple class, and which I have defined as a shared singleton class, and it does nothing more than just doing a counter. In some application, you might want to have an ability to just define some sort of a flag or a counter that keep incrementing when a particular task is happening. So again, from at the top here, this is just a definition of that singleton class constructor. And I define a counter, start with a 0. So, and I created a function to just increment that counter. Now, this counter is a property within this class where it can be loaded or read from any places in your application. So let's put this on the side. Let's close this. class and open up a method. So I have something very simple. So I'm going to go ahead and run this method. I'm going to put the breakpoint there. So the very first thing you have to do, you have to instantiate your class. So once you define that class using new, and then I'm going to put this variable up here so you can see. I'm going to increment that counter by 1. So you can see right there that the counter is incremented, and then I'm going to run the alert, right? Very simple. Now, every time when I run a method that execute a new process. So I'm going to go back again. When we look at the content, well, the counter is still 1 because it exists everywhere. It's a singleton that's shared across the processes. So if I increment it again 2, and what's nice about this singleton, shared singleton, is that it uses the same concept as, shared object or collection or even storage. Every time when we try to make modification to those storage or share items, we always have to use the use block, right? And then to make sure that we gain access to make modification. Now, with share singleton, you don't really have to. So I'm going to show it to you. It does it automatically. If you are trying to make modification, it's going to happen automatically. So first, I'm going to run this method. Okay, I'm going to put this over here. I'm going to put a wait state. I'm going to launch another process. All right, so here I'm going to, again, let me get rid of that. Okay, save that. I'm going to execute increment. That's 3 now, okay? So here, actually, that's not what I wanted to do. I was supposed to do something else. So let me get out of here first. I'm going to go ahead and put a breakpoint, not there, but here. So it's represent a wait. I'm going to run the method again. Now we have 2 instances that's going to be doing the same thing. The first guy is going to go. Okay, now I'm right here. And now I'm going to click here. All right, you can see that I'm actually clicked it, but you don't really see anything happening because it's waiting for this process to handle this property. As soon as I am done with the execution, you can see that this process get to go through. So it's automatic queuing system that you don't really need to worry about, data collision or any race condition. Okay, so yeah, it's as quite simple as that. The concept is quite the same as any shared object or collection, as well as storage. All right.
We've finished with singletons. Of course, go and check our blog. You have a lot of examples about singletons. And let's continue with property declaration and initialization. For D20R5 introduces a new feature that streamlines this kind of declaration, allowing developers to initialize properties simultaneously with their declaration in a single line. So this enhancement simplifies code readability and efficiency by reducing the need for separate initialization blocks. Developers can create cleaner and more maintainable code bases with options for inferred types or declared types and initialization. Also, you can do this implementation in an explicit way, like here, when you need to declare properties with their explicit type. So here are the various ways of declaring properties. You have them on screen. You can explicitly define the type or not, and directly provide a value here. That's very interesting for you to reduce your code and make it clearer. So let's check out the blog about it. Now let's talk about the session object. 4020R5 introduces an extended functionality to the session command, covering client-server connections and stored procedures in 4D applications. This update is introducing a new class, the client-server session, specifically designed for 4D remote session, offering the following properties, so ID, info, storage, and username, as you can see here on screen. You now can better manage user information, but also use this to restrict data displayed on screen. We'll see this just after. So this is the equivalent of the session command that you have for web processes. And here, I'm now ready to explain a little bit to you how to restrict data on entity selection. So this feature is dedicated to ORDA. It will not be applicable on Classic 4D. 4D 19R8 introduced a robust permission system, granting you granular control over user to access your data. This system protects your data depending on who accesses it and which data is accessed, ensuring data security by restricting unauthorized access. So, but what if you wanted to further refine read access based on specific criteria? That's where 4020R5 steps in, restricting read data according to some criteria with the event restrict. Those criteria you can get them from the user session that we just described. In the example on screen, when you execute a ds.customers.all, for example, it will only return customers of a given salesman. So this is very interesting if you don't want to only restrict some attributes with REST, for example. This allows you to really protect data based on who is accessing it. So this, in the example here on the restrict event, you can see that a filter will be applied based on the internal ID of the salesman. So this is a very rich feature. I really recommend you to check out the blog. It will really allow you to go one step further by protecting your data. And remember, this is an ORDA-only feature. So let's continue with the simplified component management, a great new feature that we are starting. 4020R5 brings this feature that simplifies component management. We call it project dependencies. You no longer need to store project components in a component folder. Instead, this feature uses dependencies.json and environment4d.json. Those are two new files that you will find in your 4D project, and it gives developers a clearer insight into their application dependencies and the ability to customize their component path. You now get a new screen that allows you to visualize your components, so the ones from your project and the ones stored in the 4D's component folder. Stay tuned, because this is only the beginning, and you will soon be able to add and manage dependencies from this new UI. We got the demo about this one, so I will let Intissar.
This is one of the very cool features that I found in R5, and it is something that I've been thinking about it, and many people are going to run into the use case for it, and I'm pretty sure because of 4D now offering project mode. So there are two parts. In the feature itself, it's very out of the box, is catered for development process. So, for example, if you have a component, for example, that you are developing alongside with your host database, And then, as you are working on a component, you haven't touched anything on your host database. You don't really want to have the status of your host package to be set to modify so that the GitHub will think that, oh, something needs to be updated. Normally, the component will be inside of the components folder, inside of the package, along with next to the project folder. So that's why the whole package is usually being detected by something like Git repository. So let me show you how it actually works, and it's going to help you with the process of your development. So in this application right here, I'm going to shut it down first. Here is the folder of my application. And right now, what I need to do in order to utilize this feature is I need to open up the sources folder. And there will be a file that you need to place inside of your sources folder in order to create a dependency to your component. So I have one file that I created. This is just, again, a blank dependency file. .json. Again, the name is dependencies.json. I'm going to open it with my text editor. And I'll even increase the font size a little bit. So the structure is just like so. An object containing one property, and that property will be an object as well. So inside of this dependency, you can create any list of your component that you want to use with your host database. And this could be, the perfect time for you to make a decision, or is it going to be my build component or the source component? You can choose anyone. So in this case, I'm going to put in the name of my component. And actually, what you put here will be the literal term of your component package or the folder, okay? So in this case, I'm going to put the name of my component package, the folder name of my package. All right, so it's going to be, be called DS access. All right, so now it also can possess multiple attributes that is really catered to Git development. I'm not going to go over those features. You can take a look at some of those on our documentation page. There's quite a bit of attributes that you can use. But for now, let's keep it this way. I'm going to save this file, and I'm going to close this dependency file. Going back to the top, the first thing I want to do is I want to show you when it's detecting or not detecting the component that you specify that your host database wants to use. So in order to do that, we can go to the design menu. There's a new menu option, project dependency. When you click on it, it will show all of the installed component, whether it's coming from your application itself or from 4D components folder. Okay, so you can see that a lot of these are 4D components that came directly from 4D application. So the last item here is kind of pink background. It has a not found here. It's indicating that you have specified your dependency, but it cannot find the location of this file. Now, where the location is actually that it's looking for is actually right here. Okay, next to your package folder. So that will be the default location when you specify only the file name into that file. So what I want to do here is I'm going to go and grab my component from my source folder. So in fact, this is it's a development component, right? So it's I'm going to go ahead and start with this first. Okay, I'm going to copy that. Let's say I put the component next to my package. Let's close it. Let's close that. I'm going to now restart 4D. Okay, let's restart it. All right. So let's have a look. Okay, now when we come down here, it's no longer showing the problem, it detected that the component is there. And you can also go directly and find out where that location is, right? So it jump and open it. You can see that the component folder is there. It has all the elements and sources folder inside. Now, to make sure that it's actually detecting everything properly, so we can go to methods. Under component methods, you can see DS access is here. And we can go down, you can see all of the methods that is part of that component folder, okay? So it makes this things very nice, because if you are working on the component source and you haven't touched the host, you may have a different repository created for your component, and your host can just, has its own independent repository, right? So now that's the default one that is just giving a name. What about if you have a lot of components? Yeah, obviously you probably don't want to, well, at least my personal choice. I hate having to copy things around, so I always, have a dedicated folder where all of my components are at, or the sources are. So I want to keep them there. I don't want to have to keep copying it, right? So let's say we remove that, okay? And what we want to do, we want to utilize the path to the actual source of that component folder. So what we need to do is, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to go inside of this project folder and copy that dependency file, okay? I'm going to go to the top. I'm going to place that file there. Now, at this level, the name of the file has to be changed, because it's by design. It's not going to be dependency. It's going to be called environment 4d.json, okay? So we're going to go inside of this file with a text editor. Okay. Now, at this point, what we need to do here is we need to specify the path. The path could either be an absolute or a relative, whichever you prefer. So in this case, I'm going to define the absolute path. Now I'm going to go and find my component again, which is here. This is the location. Again, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to use the browser just to give me the path to this folder. Okay, I copy that, go to this file, paste in the path, and that's it. Okay, now we have the absolute path to that folder. I'm going to save the file, close it, close this folder, and this folder will remain the same. And now we are going to restart our application. Oh, it's still running. So I'm going to close that first. Okay. Okay. The application started. We are going back to project dependency. You see that it's there. And if we are clicking on show on this, it's going to send us all the way to that specific location. Quite nice. Again, we can go back and take a look at the component list and make sure that everything is loaded properly, which it does. And that's perfect. Okay. So again, this not only work with the single user, you can do this in client and server as well. And another thing is, during the compilation, 4D does copy the source of the component that you identify in your dependency or your environment 4D.json. That's, whichever version that you were using, whether it was the source version or a built version, it will grab that and stick everything into the component folder for you.
All right, don't forget to ask questions. So let's go. And now, I prefer to warn you, there's a lot of features in for the 20R5. So let's continue with improved catalog management. Based on your feedback, we significantly enhanced our for the project setup. Before, all project details like colors, position of tables, fields, relations were stored in a file called catalog.4d catalog. And now we've split this into a separate file called catalog_editor.json. This makes managing changes and reviewing work easier, especially when multiple developers are involved. With this change, the catalog file stays untouched when someone adjusts a table or a field. This helps prevent conflicts and makes reviewing changes much simpler. Plus, we've added an option to switch to this new setup for all the projects. If you accidentally turn on this feature, don't worry. You can easily undo it by reverting the whole setup. So there's a blog post about that, and I can show you here the organization as it was before for the 20R5. So the catalog file here, you saw that before, I'm sure. There's a lot of settings here, but we've changed it. And here, when you activate the option or when you create a new project, you can see here that the catalog.4d catalog still exists, and it only contains table names, fields, and relations. So really the structure definition. And you have all the, let's say, visual options located in a new file called catalog_editor.json. So table size, table colors, etc., etc. So you understand that now when a developer will change visual aspects of your structure, it won't update the main catalog file. It will remain untouched. And it's especially useful when you are using Git, for example, to have conflicts, to avoid conflict in this main catalog file and locate them in another file that you can review separately in your coding reviews. So check out the blog here once again for this. And we can continue with 4D Netkit. Let's go. So 4D20R5 brings a new feature, once again, that allows you to create draft emails and save them directly to designated labels in your mailbox without sending them. I'm talking about Gmail, of course. This allows you to easily access and modify your templates whenever you need to send a similar email to instantiate an email from a template that would be stored in a draft email. So you have here a piece of code that does so. It's quite simple. You get much more information in our blog for that, but here you get some nice examples. Let's continue with 4D Netkit. 4D Netkit brings now PKCE, proof key for code exchange, in the OAuth2 authentication. By turning on the PKCE enable settings in the cs.netkit in the OAuth2 provider class, you increase security against interception and replay attacks. This feature adds extra protection by making sure each authorization code exchange is cryptographically secured. Here, once again, a piece of code. It's just, let's say, a flag to activate to benefit from this kind of feature, for this kind of security. Let's continue with OAuth2 security. 4D20R5 now supports OAuth2 certificate-based authentication for enhanced security. Authentications becomes more robust by using certificates instead of client secrets, especially with servers like Microsoft Identity Platform. So here you can see that this certificate is uploaded on the Azure dashboard, Azure portal. So it has a thumbprint here that you can see on screen. And you can see that now you have the ability to use the thumbprint in your 4D application with the following code here. It's at the end. At the end, you just have to specify the thumbprint you want to use. So to learn more about this feature, because authentication and security things about OAuth2 can be quite complex, we wrote you a very nice blog post about it to give you all the details. Let's continue with a little bit of news about Quick. So Quick, I'm proud to announce you that Quick is now production ready with 4D20R5. We have some communication about it on the blog. And we also took the opportunity to add more functionalities to this network layer. So the broadcast feature allows users to easily identify and connect to 4D servers running application on the network, ensuring seamless integration. Additionally, the broadcast functionality has been refined to provide more accurate server listings, ensuring users will only connect to relevant servers. Also, IPv6 is now supported, which means that you can use your 4D server on an IPv6 network. Quick has also implemented single sign-on on Windows, and this brings the feature set of Quick to the same level of the ServerNet network layer. So more about it on our blog. And I really recommend you to start to think about switching to this Quick network layer, which is really, really efficient and will bring you with time much more than the ServerNet network layer. Okay, let's proceed with the improvement on the user interface. You can now customize app appearance with new window types. So you have two new window types allowing you to design the window title bar yourself and add your own elements, such as buttons or a search box, for example, but you're free to do whatever you want. This means a complete freedom to tailor your application's appearance to your own requirements or specifications. So better than a screenshot.
We'll already show two types of windows, but for me, the one that I would find myself using, and many of us will probably be using, is the plain window with no title, and I'll show you why. So I have two examples, one for Mac, one for Windows, and if you are looking at some of the new trend of design, even looking at your Zoom app right now, everything is on the top, pushing all the way to the top. The titles, including tabs, as well as some of the control features, all the way to the top. It's not really restricted to just title anymore. So we take the same concept of I implement a little bit something that will show both platforms. So we have something like this, right? Quite demonstrate the point. So usually up here, there will be strictly reserved for title, right? But in this case, we can actually utilize this area to do something like a search functionality, and all kinds of stuff that you can do, right? So this is just one example. So here's another example. You can have a little bit more, more options in there. And here's the clickable button. You can also have another option in here, and alongside with the title. And these ones, again, it's very easy to program. And on the blog, there is an example that you can download and take a look at. Some of the icon comes with it. So if we want to expand this window, it does everything automatically. You can see right away that it behaves exactly like normal title, the title bar. We can bring it down, and again, every time when we do an expand or resizing of the window, it behaves exactly the same. Or we can even add a splitter all the way to the top of the window. In some UI design, you probably want to have some ability to do something like this, right? So, which is going to be quite useful in terms of how you would like your application to look like and feel like in production. So that is usually what you'll see on the app side, which is all of the window control buttons is on the top left. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and close all of these windows. and open a similar Windows, but this one is going to be the Windows version. So you can see that all of these elements again get pushed all the way and placed at the same level as the control buttons for the Windows. For the Windows itself, some of these things look a little different, obviously, but all of the functionality will continue to work like so. You can, a similar type, you can expand, you can minimize as well as, here, depends on what you want to do. So I decided to pull down the splitter to not go all the way to the top, but, you can also make that as part of your option of your design as well. Okay. And again, the type of the windows is actually that right there. Okay. Another Windows type, just to go back quickly and just kind of mention it, which is the movable Windows and window title. All right. So hope you guys get inspired with some of these things and go out and build your own fancy and wonderful UI.
That's it. And we are over with developers features. So now it's time for a quick break. Do we answer all the questions now, Intissar, or we keep it for the end?
Yeah, maybe we can answer now for the section of developers.
Okay, so we have one question about Singleton. I will read the question. So it's a little bit hard to understand, but I think I understood the question. So the question is about singletons, the execution. I think it's when the execution is on queue, when the function is shared. So the example we saw from add, it does not matter the value of the member attribute or is not changed inside the function. So I'm not sure I understand exactly the function, the question. So I will explain again a little bit quickly how shared singleton work, shared function inside a shared singleton. In fact, if you update a singleton attribute, a singleton property in a shared function inside a shared singleton, in fact, you don't have to encapsulate it in a use and use block, for they will do that on its own by itself. So if several processes try to access this function, this shared function that updates a shared property of the singleton, so if several processes try to access this function at the same time or synchronously, in fact, what will happen is that they will be queued and they will be processed just one by one after each one after the other. This is what Ad tried to explain, in fact, in his demo. So you don't have, it's as if you were encapsulating this in an use and use block, but you don't have to. You don't have to. But it's exactly the same. Okay.
You have another question about the catalog, for the catalog.
Another question about for the catalog. The question is that the for the catalog contains index information also. You did not mention this in the presentation. Is this enhancement covers indexes too? Index definition also break SCM info operations. Yes, you're right. It's not mentioned because it's not covered yet. If you are interested about it, you could file a feature request. This is something that we could work or improve in the future. And we will now proceed with For the Right Pro. And I give the mic to you, Intissar.
Thank you, Mathieu. Yes. So actually long gone are the days when I would be afraid of putting an image in a document, moving it just a little bit and having the document wildly change. Now, thanks to all the improvements in 4D over the past few years, we now have the ability to have nearly complete control of how text flows around pictures and text boxes. There are a lot of options for this text wrapping, so we can't go into them all here today, but I put a few in the slide. And also, we didn't forget about exporting. We took care of that as well. So please visit the blog for a very complete how do I and have a look at the documentation for the full description. And let's see the feature in action. I will share the ad demo.
So we are back with this database. So you will find that on the specific blog post for this particular feature that comes with a downloadable example. It will show you all of the details, the commands that you can use, as well as some of the feature that is built into as part of the toolset of 4D Write Pro. What I like to do is to kind of break some of those things down and just keep it as simple as possible so that you can imagine what possibility that you can do with your 4D Write Pro application. So what we have here, I'm going to launch my method, run my method here. So we have this document that was created. I used some of the information from our marketing materials online and then just place them into the document here. It's nothing special. There's a text box here and a bunch of paragraph down here. Okay. So what's cool about this is that we are actually allowing both text box as well as image to be pretty free flow anywhere on your document. And you can control the type of flow, whether it's going to be, on the top only, bottom, left, right, or even within the text. You can have that option to control all of these features. So when I click on here, you'll see all of these options available here. So let's just say if I decided to move this text box down, you can see that it's actually allowing text to kind of flow and wrap around this text box very nicely. There's no issue in terms of the display or the placement of the text box. And you can see it very clearly, okay? Now you can actually see if I click on this icon right here, it put everything on the top right. It's almost like if you want to create some sort of a watermark, but in this case, it's not really a watermark, it's a text object. What we can do here, let's say if I want to make some changes to this layout and move things around a little bit, resizing of this text box, making sure that it fits with all the text that I have in there, okay? Maybe adjust the margin of this text box also. Right now it's set at 6 points. I want to increase it maybe to 12 points. To give it a little bit more better visibility. So you can see I have changed the layout of the document by using just strictly the feature that is available from the drop down as well as from the tool set here. And not only that, you can have all of these modifications controllable by program. So 4D Write Pro give you a set of attributes and command that will allow you to do that. Okay, so let's switch to another demo, and this one is going to be similar to the last one. It has a little bit more content, now, which is some pictures, and you can see that we have different location of the pictures. So on this paragraph, we have a picture on the left, this one on the right, left, right. And the nice thing is that when you start dragging or you can also programmatically move things around as well. But if I drag this picture to the right so that everything plays correctly, you can see that now the layout looks a little different now. I have a new layout while maintaining the display of everything nicely without, sacrificing or having to deal with some misplacement of my text or location. So all of these, again, is quite simple to implement. And all of this picture, all you have to do is just drag and drop in or programmatically load them into your document. And you'll be able to move them anywhere you want. Okay. So hopefully, you can take this in conjunction, combined with some of the additional example on the blog post to learn how to control your document better.
Cool. So let's move back to the presentation. The next, we have sections that are vital feature when generating complicated documents. Be it that you would like to have a completely separate theme for a cover page, or maybe you need to change the orientation of the text from one page to the next. So a great way to do this is with sections. Now we made using them even easier because this feature release enables you to manage section breaks via the user interface. And the last for the right feature is the tables without limits. So the R5 removes the 1000 row limit to your tables when generating documents. So this limit is no longer fixed and controlled by 4D Write Pro, but is only limited by available memory. You can now associate data sources with tables, enabling automatic population without constraints. Just remember, so for performance reasons, you will not see more than 1000 rows in for the Write Pro document in the user interface, but they will be generated upon export. So that will be all for the Write Pro. Do we have any questions?
I don't see any new question in the Q&A section.
Okay, it means everything is clear. That's good news.
So let's continue with an important topic.
Yeah.
With Qodly Studio for 4D. So you can continue, I guess.
Okay. So yeah, this feature release introduces a new feature, actually a very important feature for your REST APIs. It's called force login. So just to give you context, before, whenever your web session would query the REST server from a Qodly Studio for 4D form, you would consume a license. This is a bit awkward because you could have a custom login screen, which makes total sense. And a simple rendering of this screen would cause you to eat up a license. This was functional, but not optimal. That's why in the R5, the team has introduced a new feature called force login, meaning that you can only consume a license when you actually start working with your application. So with force login mode, licenses are consumed only when users start working with the data and logic your REST server serves. This means first, so reduced license consumption. Login forms no longer consume licenses. Second, we have an improved user experience. Users can attempt login without impacting available licenses. And the third is that we have better resource management. The license is freed once a user gets the application. And for the next feature, so we have the support of custom components. Custom components are user-created building blocks developed to address unique requirements or introduce specific features not covered by the default set of Qodly Studio for 4D built-in components. So these components are crafted using React, providing a flexible and a powerful foundation for developers. So custom components are managed in Qodly Studio for 4D to match the performance of built-in components. So which means reducing any potential drawbacks associated with response and interaction times. So The developer community is actively expanding, with the members continuously crafting new components. They are generously shared for free download within the community. So if you are interested in contributing your own custom component to these collective efforts, we invite you to do so on the custom components for Qodly Studio page. So you can have a look at the GitHub page. The link is shown on the slide. Yeah, also before moving to the questions, we have GPR training. Qodly Studio for 4D level 1 is now available on the 4D store. I will share the link in the chat shortly. So this course focuses on leveraging existing 4D applications, whether your application, for example, has been in development for 10, 20, or even more years. You will discover how rapidly you can integrate web screens to this application. And also you can seamlessly add new web functionalities and execute smooth transition from traditional client-server application to a fully web-based platform.
So we have one question about Qodly Studio for 4D. Are you going to design a force logout option for Qodly to claim back a license? So technically, it's already the case. When you use the force login mode, when you activate that, check out the blog. You will have some details about it. So technically, a license will be consumed once you execute a ds.authentify function that you implement. That is that was in the slide, and then you get a new functionality, a new event that you can trigger from your Qodly app, which will trigger a logout and release a license. So it is available. It is designed to be available from your Qodly application UI, in fact, and so you can have a user logging into your application and then consuming a license only after a successful login, and you can have him, by clicking on the button, release the license he consumed. Another question, is the JPR training about Qodly the same as the one you gave last year, or does it use this new version of Qodly? Don't remember exactly. I think it's, if you participated to the last training, it's the same one. I'm not sure you will see the latest version of Qodly in this training.
Let's move with 4D View Pro.
Yeah.
So now you can control many things in 4D View Pro using 4D programming, which means you can design entire workflows. So in the new release, we have added a few small, but in my opinion, really practical functions that I would like to show you. So sometimes you might require specific calculations on the content of a column or row without knowing how many cells will be affected. So this feature release enables custom calculations on column or row contents within a spreadsheet without prior knowledge of the number of cells involved. So a demo is better than 100 slides.
Okay, so I like to keep this demos very simple and straightforward. Again, the example that you will be able to download from the particular blog will have, a little bit more advanced demos, but I want to get the concept across. So what we can do now with 4D View Pro is to be able to define a custom function, right? So that custom function could be just about anything that returns a value. And be able to populate the data into the row onto the spreadsheet. So what we have, I have created just a simple function class here, and in order to create a function, a custom function, you have to start out with building your own maybe something like this, right? Class that be able to return a formula. So I built something that's quite simple. I call it day, and you can get today's date, which is pretty straightforward. Almost like you can just put in current date in there. Yesterday's date, tomorrow. Okay, very simple. So in order to call these functions from 40View Pro, the next step is to define or install this function into your 40View Pro. Usually you'll do it during the loading of your area. So here is the 40View Pro. There's a form with 40View Pro on it. I'm going to right click and show you what's inside. Okay, so we have the form event equal to onload of the area, and we start out with by creating instantiate the class, right? So just basically be able to acquire that class object into a variable, and then we'll create an object. Okay, so this object is going to store each of the class function reference. So here, basically we're just giving it a name, and again, the name that you put in here when you're actually using it on the spreadsheet or the 40View Pro itself is gonna get converted into uppercase automatically. So I just took a liberty, just go ahead and put uppercase for all of them. Okay, so today is going to have the today function install, and yesterday again with yesterday a function, tomorrow, and so on. And once I have this object, I can just call the command vp set custom function, okay, and pass it as a second parameter. You can install as many class functions as you want, and it doesn't have to be from one single class as well. In some cases, you have a generic class for a particular purpose, which you can do that and combine them into a single object, or you can make multiple calls of the set custom function to install individual class function as well. Okay. So once we have this, then we are ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and close that window. Let's go ahead and launch this method, and it's going to just go ahead and open up the form. So currently, I don't really have anything. So for example, I'm just going to do something very simple. So today, tomorrow, yesterday, okay? So I want the corresponding date to appear over here. So what do we do? Usually when you call a function, you start off with an equal sign. So what is this today? So today, so you can see it's listed there. I can just tab and just go to the next line. It shows today's date, right? Very simple. Same as tomorrow. Same as yesterday. Okay. So the reason why I'm doing this very simple function is just to get you to just understand the basic, construction of your class and your function. The content that you will put or will respond with your function is really up to you, but you can do all kinds of things. But because of, 40View Pro give you a really huge set of functionality, there will be a tons more that is not going to be there by default, and that's what will be your part to create them, and based on your business requirement or the needs of your use case. So you can build them any way you want, but the basic rule is quite simple. You build a class, you install each function from that class into the 40View Pro through the command that is available, and once it's loaded, all of those functions will be available for you.
Let's continue. Let's continue with Visual Studio Code. And I take back the mic. Thank you, Intissar. Visual Studio Code drastically, our extension drastically improved with 20R5 and also the 4D Analyzer extension. So Now we offer Workspace syntax checking. It helps secure errors and streamline coding by checking the entire 4D project for mistakes or errors. Errors and warnings are shown in a sidebar. You can see it on the screenshot here, making spotting and fixing issues easy. There's a lot of new caveats and subtleties to this feature. So if you work on multiple 4D projects at the same time, this could be interesting as you can have one workspace per project and be able to manage them all at the same time with workspaces. So check out the blog for more about that. It's a very nice new addition to the 4D Analyzer extension for Visual Studio Code. Also, we now have a way to automatically update your tool for the downloads in VS Code. This allows you to make sure your tools are up to date with its latest version, either on the stable or on the beta channel. This should take the guesswork and let VS Code do the updating for you automatically. But if you don't need the auto update, you can disable this feature, of course. So here you can see that your VS Code extension will automatically update your tool folder, and so it will make all the 4D features for developing up to date when you work. Let's proceed with GitHub Codespaces. For these truly embracing modern development practices with the integration of 4D into GitHub Codespaces. This is a very cool way for you to debug, to patch, to develop from anywhere with an internet connection. If you are using GitHub, you can set a code space to be specific, to be a specific branch, and then either connect to that code space using GitHub Codespace app, VS Code, or GitHub Online Codespaces. It's very fun. Give it a try, and don't worry, the whole team can access, your whole team can access and work on the code simultaneously. And with the 4D Analyzer tool, you can also have access to syntax checking, so you don't commit bad code. For a how-to video of how this comes together, there's an 8-minute demo video from the team showcasing this feature. So it's accessible from the blog post here above. We don't have time to show it to you right now today, but really, really check out the blog for this. And let's switch to a final Q&A moment. I can go back to the last question we had about JPR training about Qodly. So remember the question was this training the same than the one he gave last year? And yes, the question is yes, it's the same. As the,
yeah, and we have another question, Mathieu, in the chat, not in the Q&A.
Okay. I can bring it back here on my screen. I had a look at the blog post, but it seemed that the logout is reliant on the user clicking on the logout button. Yes, it's about Qodly. What we need is to be able to, on the server, if the last client activity is superior to 5 minutes, for example, then force logout. This is a new feature you have to request on our forum if you want it. There's a lot of pros and cons about that kind of thing. So let's discuss that on the feature request section of the forum. No more question. So it's the moment to conclude our webinar for today. You can download the feature release, so the 4D20R5 feature release from the link that you have here on screen, of course. So as you could see, it's a very, very rich feature release. So we hope and we know that you will take the most out of it. Let's continue. For more demos, for more detailed information, be sure to visit our blog. We always repeat it, but our blog is a mine of of information. So there's a lot of treasures to find out there. And of course, we would love to hear from your feedback on this presentation and this new format. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in the R6 webinar.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Cool.